Welcome back to BT. Time for your business news with Mike Epple. And Mike, leading off with the markets this morning. If Trump wins, the market wins. If Biden wins, I guess the market also wins. The only thing that causes a problem is there's a contested outcome.
Yeah, indeed. Mary, good morning. Obviously, the anticipation of the U.S. election is at extremes this time around. Heightened anxiety, all sorts of things that we're watching on social media and the news coverage this day. But when we look at the underlying economic implications, what happens after the vote? Well, if there is a clear-cut victor, in very short order, what they're going to do in Washington is get some sort of a stimulus deal done, and that could be worth $2 trillion. And again, that's regardless of whether it's Trump or Biden taking the White House. There may be, if it's a Democrat victory, then you actually would see more money being pumped into the U.S. economy. So we're watching stocks surge this morning because the thinking is that there will be a victory for the Democrats. That's what the polls are showing. But at the same time, investors might be forgetting what happened in 2016, where the polls were maybe tighter than where they are now. But all of a sudden, overnight, Trump pulled it out, and then we saw just massive volatility. And then if you add to the mix a contested outcome where it's tied up in the courts, like year 2000, well, then that's a different scenario altogether. As it is right now, though, we're watching the Dow up 500 points on Election Day. Really? Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes.
There's so much information to take in. And speaking of sites where you can get a lot of information, social media, they may have a record-breaking day for postings, and Twitter and Facebook say they both have restrictions in place.
Yeah, it'll be pretty tough to stay off social media today, as you might expect, and people will be chiming in one way or the other later this evening. But Twitter reiterated their rules just yesterday about any candidate declaring victory without confirmation by a state board official on the election results or two verified news sources, that's going to be flagged and redirected. So if you have a particular U.S. presidential candidate, for example, saying that, as the polls close, they start citing victory, it's going to have to be clarified. And of course, social media gets into this whole ballywick of issues from both sides about who's controlling the flow of information. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out, whether or not we have a specific outcome this time tomorrow morning. Who knows? It's like sometimes you just kind of have to sit back, relax, see how it goes. Yeah, we're not the ones voting.
It's important to set limits today so we're not on our phones all day long. All right, Mike, we'll chat the same time tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
All right, 7:28 now on Breakfast Television. We'll have the day's top stories coming up. You're watching BT.